Alright, now that we've created our schematic symbol and our footprint, it's time to do the third thing that I said we would do every time, which is to build a part, a device, a component. In Eagle, they are known as devices. Okay. Alright, so I just clicked on that to give me my startup dialog box, and this will again have some sort of useful name. Compressor SSM 2167. This is up to you how you want to organize your libraries. I generally make one library for each project, and then I'll show you in a later episode how to copy things from one library to the next. You can build collections of libraries so that you put all of your library components of a certain type, like all your audio parts in one library, all your connectors in another one, and so on. So, compressor. Would you like to create a new device? I sure would. All right. Now we're given a new window that we haven't kind of seen before, and we have three basic areas of information. This here is, well, we'll call it four areas. This is where all the schematic symbols will be. This will be where all of the visual of the current selected footprint or package is going to be. This is kind of a list of all the packages, and then we have all of our attributes and other statistical data or anything that we want to use to pull things up later on. So let's start out with what we need. All right, we're going to go ahead, and these commands are generally only used for the schematic portion of it. So just ignore this half when you're looking for these buttons. Okay, so I'm going to add. I only have one symbol because I've only created one, and you notice that because I set my origin, that's exactly where the insertion point is going to be. Okay, I don't have to worry about naming this yet, although if I had multiple parts, I might give these things actual names, the sub-symbols within there. But for the most part, right now, I don't need that. That's my only symbol, and so that's all I need. All right, great. I know about my package. These will be prefixed. All parts will be prefixed with a U, which is standard engineering practice, with a U1, U2 for integrated circuits. Okay. The value on and off is a little bit tricky to understand. Some parts, like resistors and capacitors, have an additional button in the schematic editor right here called value. So you don't have to create a new part for a 1K resistor and then another part for a 5K and another part for a 10 or something like that. You can just have the value as a separate adjustable thing. This is older Eagle before attributes were sort of there. So by turning off values, we don't have that capability on there. It gets a little funky with the attribute system later on, but for right now, this part does not have a value because there's only one thing. Okay? I'm going to now think about, these are package commands up here, so I want a new package. I only have one to deal with. Remember about variant names, unless you have multiple packages on the same things, then they would have to have a variant. But for right now, we don't need a variant name. This will be the default variant, and older version has a lot of crud kind of on it. It doesn't quite stretch the way you want it to. And you notice, it selected that. It sees my footprint that I made before. The variant is called nothing. That's 2 ticks, a single quote on, single quote off, with nothing in between. And this thing here, this caution mark says it has not been fully connected properly. In other words, all the pins on this schematic have not been accounted for. So we double click on it, or I could have hit the connect button, whatever I want. And we're left with this dialog box right here. And remember how I said I didn't name this? It's just called name. Well, it actually gave it a name called $1. So gate 1, shutdown pin, average cap pin, etc., etc. All I got to do is assign these things to their appropriate pad names. How do we do that? To the data sheet. Okay. So this is where I don't quite have enough space for everything to go around, so what I will do is slide that off the screen and trust that you guys sort of know what I mean. So first one, pin 1 will be ground. I ground at 1. Does it do it right away? Nope, not yet. Okay, I'm foreshadowing. Okay, ground, VCA in, shutdown, buff out. You notice it's kind of going in order, so I just keep double clicking in order to do that. You can also hit the connect button. If you make a mistake, double click or hit disconnect with the proper thing selected, and we're starting back again at pin number 4. So buff out, input, average cap, refresh, ratio, output, and VDD. Okay, great. I could copy things from. I don't really use this feature a whole lot, so don't worry too much about him. So I'm fully connected, and watch two things that are going to be interesting. First of all, these are going to pop up with some extra information, and that guy's going to turn into a little check mark. So check mark means all the pins are connected, and also notice that we've added all the pin names. Remember when I did pins, there was a visibility of saying, do you want to do the pin, the pad, nothing, all, whatever, right? So cool. All right, so we're fully connected. In theory, we would be done, but we're going to add a little bit of extra information over here in the attributes section. So let's share the road a little bit. And first thing I want to do is add a description. I'm going to get a description from right here. Copy. Down. This is the view area. This is the actual where you make edits area. They look exactly the same. Also notice that these are this is HTML style stuff. So I can do HTML tags or whatever if I want to do something really fancy. But this is something to be aware of, that just hitting enter doesn't do anything. You would have to do a paragraph mark, for example, that kind of stuff. So they try to be a little too clever, I think, with this one. Anyway, I usually want to know what it does, what its voltages are, this does get annoying, this HTML thing. 3x5 SOP package. Sometimes I'll put power dissipation on there or something else like that. So cool, the things get a little mushed here with this small screen, but now I've got a description, and I'm going to put some attributes. Remember, I had already made 2 of them. I'm actually going to make 5 that I always use, and then I add other stuff later on when we talk about how I integrate with SolidWorks and things like that. So MFG for manufacturers. MPN is, I like to use the full manufacturer's part number. So they usually put suffixes on the end. Oops. It's usually down at the bottom. Oftentimes what happens here is these are temperature differences or package specifications, but I want the whole thing. The R7 might not be necessary because I know that happens to be a 7-inch reel, so I'm going to kind of trim that off. But the point is, I want the manufacturer's part number, and I want it on the schematic. I don't really care what the DigiKey part number is. That's not, if I have to source things from other places, then that's fine. Okay. Next one, I want a vendor, which in this case will be DigiKey. Love working with DigiKey. I use them for most of my designs. DigiKey, send me free stuff. And I want to go ahead and do the get the DigiKey part number. So this is called an SSM 2167. Okay, and you can see I could have picked evaluation boards linear. This is how I pick parts, by the way. I want it to be cut tape because I don't want a reel, and I want an in-stock part. That usually gets me down to almost everything else that I want. And then the question is, by the way, the cut tape one also gets you out of having to, what's the pricing for when I buy a reel of 1,000 or something like that. And the question is, what are these things? What 2 differences are they? The answer is nothing. Dash reel versus dash R cut 7. I don't know, whichever one has the most. They're the same price, so we'll call it this one. Copy. Vendor part number. Paste. And finally, my last one that I always put in is price. I have a user language program, a script that I wrote that gives me what I call quick costs. So people, as I'm building a part, I kind of want to know about how much money I'm spending. I never go wrong with quoting out DigiKey parts. The point is you're building up a database here, and I use things for other stuff. Like I'll have SolidWorks files if I want to automate a three-dimensional drawing or something like that. Remember, I came from a time when those features were not free like they are with the newer versions, and I still like using SolidWorks better than Eagle's built-in stuff, which I think uses SketchUp. So, okay. All right. We are now about done. This part is ready to use. It's got all of its parts. We'll talk in a little bit later with some of these other things like add levels and swap levels. We talked a little bit about that. And the attributes are a tricky thing, by the way. Don't just add your parts first, add your attributes second, because when you add a new package, it will blow away your attributes. And then all of a sudden, all that work you did to get all the vendor part numbers and everything is gone. So just, it's an egoism, what can I say? Okay, save our library, and we're good to go.